This is part 2 of our conversation with Jan Winhall. We recommend first listening to part 1. Welcome to Pathways, Becoming Trauma Responsive, where we explore trauma through a compassionate lens, discover how these experiences affect each of us differently, and dive deeper into what it really means to become more trauma-informed. I'm your host, Dr. Elizabeth Meeker, Senior Director of the New York State Trauma Informed Network and Resource Center, funded by the New York State Office of Mental Health. The network advances the collective understanding of trauma, wellness and healing, and trauma-informed practices in action. This podcast is produced by CCSI. The views, opinions, and content expressed in this podcast do not necessarily reflect the views, opinions, or policies of the New York State Office of Mental Health or CCSI. This is a special edition of Pathways, where we travel outside of New York State to hear and learn from national experts. I think a lot of people are familiar with like fight, flight, freeze, but I hear you talking about maybe a more expansive understanding of these different states. And, I'm curious about that because I'm thinking the more we can name about our experience, the more we have the opportunity to, to have a different response and versus being reactive to what is happening.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So I created actually a graphic model of the nervous system that's a circle with different emojis, really, or icons that describe in a very embodied way what these different states feel like. So, and we also have blended states. So this is important to understand. So the two main ones that we talked about that existed in the autonomic nervous system before Steve Porges' work, the first one is that ventral branch of the vagus nerve, the safe enough place in the body that comes from just above the diaphragm and then up through into the face. When we feel safe enough, that branch of the vagus nerve is activated, and we're kind of moving along through life, and things are okay. We're lucky, we're born into that, if we're lucky, because our primary caretakers also have enough safety in their body that they're holding us in a way that we can attach securely and it all goes okay. And it doesn't have to be perfect, which is very reassuring for and clients. Some research is even showing that you only need that kind of connection 30% of the time. So the body's very resilient.
Right.
And then the second branch of the nervous system, not the vagal branch, but the sympathetic branch, that fight place. We all know that in our body, right? A loud noise goes off and we jump. That's the sympathetic branch that's helping us to mobilize to manage the situation. And some bodies get stuck in that flight place. You see this a lot in anxious people. And there's a lot of constriction in the body, and they're like running and ready to run, and it's really scary to pause. You don't pause at all.
Right.
And some bodies really get stuck in fight. And you feel that kind of underlying irritation or even rage in a person that's just looking for a place to land and splat. And then, so that was the traditional model that that existed until Steve Porges' work in the 1990s, really, when the first big book came out, although he was working on it before that. He studied neonatal babies and their nervous systems and their heart rate variability. And what he found was that if in this traditional model, you would predict that premature babies that are ill would not have, a regular heartbeat because they'd be ill. They'd be like, right? So you'd predict it would be flight, fight. The heart rate in sympathetic is higher. Our heart rate goes up like this because we're getting ready to move.
Right.
These babies' heart rates were lower than normal. And that took him on a journey. He said, how can that be? Something that is supposed to be safe in a ventral vagus is actually threatening these babies. Because so that's how he discovered this, what he called the dorsal branch of the vagus nerve. He said, oh, there's two branches to this vagus nerve. One is ventral, relaxed, safe enough.
Mm-hmm.
Other is what happens after that flight fight state is ineffective. And then we drop down into hibernation. The heart rate lowers. And if it really becomes serious enough, people can die.
Mm.
And babies were dying.
Mm-hmm.
Rates were lowering so much. So that's how he discovered. It's a fascinating story.
Yeah.
And I really had to read and reread to get it, but I got it. And when you get it, it's like, oh, yeah.
Right. Yes.
And I explained that in my first book
Uh-huh.
because I think it's just so interesting. Once you get it, you understand, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And of course, what happened with premature babies is that the ventral branch of the vagus nerve, that safe place,
Mm-hmm.
it only really starts to develop in the third trimester.
Mm.
And so these babies didn't have a mature, developed ventral branch of the
Right.
vagus. And they weren't staying in sympathetic because it's too metabolically taxing.
Right.
Can't stay there. And so bodies drop down into
Mm.
this shutdown
Mm-hmm.
place. So it's important to recognize that there's this flight, fight place,
Mm-hmm.
sympathetic. Then freeze is actually what we call a blended state or a hybrid state in the nervous system. And it is a mixture of flight, fight, sympathetic, and dorsal shutdown, stuck and immobilized. And the best way to experience this is in your body. So if you imagine in your body, the freeze place is like the rabbit in the headlights. In that place, your muscles are constricted, right? That's a sympathetic response in the nervous system. So that's not shutdown. The dorsal shutdown system in the body is
Mm-hmm.
right? It's closed down, avoiding eye contact.
Right.
It's heavy
Mm-hmm.
and limp and lethargic and stuck in immobilization.
Mm-hmm.
Depression. Can't get out of bed. Everything looks black and sad and or numb.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so that place is not freeze. It's another place that happens after freeze.
Okay.
And that's Steve's work.
Right.
Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the difference there that we're
Right.
really trying to educate people around.
Yeah. And so important because I'm thinking how unfortunately that those states could get labels attached to them and then people accept that about themselves. So you're not motivated or, those sorts of things where if someone is in a collapsed state, like it is their body's response. Like it's not a choice that they're making, it's a state that they're in. And then finding their way out and through is not just by like pulling up their bootstraps and like soldiering on. That's probably actually the counter solution, right? And so
Exactly.
really
Exactly.
understanding that and naming that for yourself to understand it, to create that space where you can be gentle and start to have that ability to create a sense of safety, because without that you can't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And this is where top-down processing can be quite helpful.
Uh-huh.
So that you can maybe feel this response in your
Right.
body in the morning. You don't want to get up or you're scared or whatever. You're
Mm-hmm.
scared, but then you shut down and then this kind of this mixture of going back and forth. And then you can say to yourself, you can learn to do this, to say, oh, my body is feeling threat.
Right.
And I know that I've actually chosen to take a risk and I'm not going to die if the risk doesn't work out. I've chosen to do it. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually going to move through that up to getting myself up
Right.
and I'm going to mobilize. I'm going to move
Mm-hmm.
because as soon as you move, that sympathetic branch kicks in.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And so, but what happens is if we don't have that awareness,
Mm-hmm.
we're stuck in that trauma feedback loop of flight, fight, and then this fixate place of addiction that I'll explain,
Mm-hmm.
and shutting down. We call it
Yeah.
folding in, which is
Mm-hmm.
like a simple model with 7 F's in it,
Uh-huh.
7 states. Um, then we have to learn what are the things that we can do that are going to help us to shift back and forth, because we can't survive in one of those states.
Right.
And that's really important to understand in terms of reframing addiction.
Mm-hmm.
So what we understand addictions through a polyvagal lens as state regulation strategies that help us unconsciously to shift from that dorsal shutdown state of numbing, which brings relief,
Mm-hmm.
but you can't stay there forever because you would die.
Right.
So body seeks out behaviors
Mm-hmm.
that shift us back into sympathetic if there isn't enough safety available, or we don't feel there's enough safety available.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So then you'll get, if somebody's stuck in that dissociated numbing state, you'll get things like high risk behaviors,
Mm-hmm.
or cutting the body, for example, where people might see blood and then freak out,
Mm-hmm.
shift you back into sympathetic.
Mm-hmm.
And so, same way that sympathetic flight fight, if you have the fight with your boss and you come home, you drink a bottle of wine,
Right.
you shift back down into a dorsal numbing state.
Mm.
And so that's how those behaviors get set up to
Right.
help us to survive when we don't perceive enough safety.
Mm-hmm.
And then those behaviors often become addictive because they work well
Right.
when we don't feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
So again, we see then addictive behaviors not as a brain disease.
Mm-hmm.
Brain disease comes from addiction,
Right.
but we would understand it as a function
Mm-hmm.
of this regulated nervous system.
Right.
And again, it really gives people what I call these moments of liberation. It's like
Yeah.
you can say to people that are addicted and have done bad things,
Yeah.
good people that do
Yep.
bad things in the state of addiction, because
Sure.
you lose that prefrontal
Yeah.
cortex area that has
Right.
value, delayed gratification. And you can explain to people, listen, this is just how bodies are designed.
Right.
They're going to do whatever it takes to survive, to get through.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
you're not going to be thinking about your value system when you're just trying to survive.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, bad things happen, but that doesn't mean you're a bad human being.
Right.
And you can change them.
Yes. Right.
We
Right.
can rewire the brain. We know that from neuroplasticity.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very hopeful, strength-based model.
Right. Right. And yeah, and I did notice like it starts with safety, and then, the last section of your new book is about empowerment. And, and to me, that's where that hope comes from. It's so aligned with trauma-informed principles, right? It's helping people see like you do have, there's that opportunity for choice, which creates that more sense of control within
Yeah,
your life and power and tapping into your own power.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And really celebrating that,
Mm-hmm.
being able to free yourself from shame.
Right.
Shaming. And, even, good people working in that traditional pathologizing model,
Right.
it's still shaming.
Yeah.
It's still, even if we move from the badness model into the sickness model, it's still shaming. These
Mm-hmm.
young women, they were all, and they still are often diagnosed with borderline
Right.
personality disorder.
Yeah.
They're in hospital settings with they don't have their own clothes, their own identity. They're pumped full of meds. Not
Mm-hmm.
that I'm against medication, but they were pumped full of so many meds.
Right.
It was hard to work with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I think that's the challenge we have is there's a place for those
Yeah.
medications. And then we slowly wean in
Mm-hmm.
collaboration with the nervous system and
Yes. Mm-hmm.
your own experiencing of safety and the body.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it highlights the importance of really being aware of things that can be stigmatizing, because that creates even further distance for someone and disconnection, right? And so being able to create that sense of connection, we have to, really reframe this as these are to be expected, normal responses to these types of situations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you use that language with me, client, I start to feel your humanity.
Right.
I start to feel that I don't feel judged.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like you're a real person
Right.
relating to another person.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's essential for a nervous system to feel safe. It is not going to feel safe if Dr. So-and-so is hiding behind their desk, diagnosing you as this separate kind of being that has a disorder.
Right.
And it was particularly offensive to me back then because these women were victims of crime.
Right.
And now they're psychiatric patients, pumped full of meds, losing all of their unique identity. I mean, imagine walking
Right.
around in a cloth thing that doesn't have a back to it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Been sexually assaulted. I mean,
Wow. Yeah.
it's terrible. And
Yes.
it was Judith Herman who came up with the trauma and recovery, and she was just our hero as feminist therapists. And she said, frankly, these women are being treated with contempt.
Yeah.
And it was true. And it's still true a lot of the
Right.
time.
Yeah.
We don't have, we know that a lot of the reactions in that borderline description are difficult. But really, that person is just showing you what they learned to do to survive.
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's on us
Yes.
to create enough respect and safety and strength of our own person, which means we got to do our own work.
Yeah.
They'll come to you because everybody wants to heal. So
Right. Yes.
I believe that in the body.
Yep.
We're designed like that. We're designed like plants, Jen would say. We're at least plants. And plants look for sunlight.
Right.
Need it, and they don't have enough of it. You'll see their little leaves twist around into the sun.
Yep.
And bodies are alive like plants.
Yes. Yes. I love that you use that analogy because our training in the network is called Tending the Roots. And that just work, that's really what you're describing, right? Is that we're tending the roots and nurturing them so that people can fully flourish into their full potential.
Exactly. Well, I can feel that you have it, Elizabeth.
Oh, thank you.
No, I'm serious. And that's going to just emanate, right? As you are sharing and teaching that kind of body wisdom, it's going, and we need this so badly now.
Yes, yes, I would agree.
Yeah.
So, Jan, as we come to the close of our time together, I'm just wondering about kind of final words of wisdom that you might have and things for, our listeners as they continue on their own journey in this work.
Yeah. Well, I think it's to do your own work. To find someone to work with who you feel this kind of presence that we have. I think that is really crucial that you feel, because there's so many different trainings out there, and they're all, probably all of them are great, but it's how you bring them into you. Right. And so looking for spaces where you feel safe with the person who's leading and teaching. They have a way that you connect with other people in the trainings that you do. Gabor Mate works a lot helps people get into trainings and partnerships and whatever. The deeper you go, like in those focusing partnerships, you go so deep. So, I mean, Jen was a genius. Not just here, but really so somatically connected. And he really gave us the foundation of somatics through felt sense and how he understood it. And he actually did 3 research studies on the autonomic nervous system.
Wow.
Which I shared with Steve Porges. I was so excited when I found them. I was like, he saw that, He saw that physical shift. What I did in the model is I connected that felt shift, the shift in autonomic state. And that's the model, basically.
Yeah, it's like the marriage of those.
The marriage of those two. When I had a chance to talk to Steve about it, I said, I think this felt shift we all talk about in focusing, it's a shift into ventral, into the vagus. He's like, yes. So then I knew, okay, that's a book.
Yeah. Yes.
So people are welcome to come and find me at janwinhall.com. You can download lots of free graphics that are in the book. And I'm starting these community practice groups for people in May through the Polyvagal Institute, where we work through all of those 20 embodied practices.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it's a small group. It's only 36 people. And I've got my 6 of my felt sense polyvagal model facilitators out in the breakout room. So everybody has a focusing partner. Then we break it down into just little breakout rooms of 6 people after the first part of the meeting, and really giving so much attention to the body, understanding trauma and addiction through that strength-based model. So there's a lot of work, especially to be done in the addiction field. But we have to start somewhere.
Right. Yeah. Oh, and I think you've helped to give us a good start. So I'm so grateful and thankful for your time today and sharing your journey, your work with the folks who are listening. I think there's a lot for them to then kind of use to springboard off of. And I would reciprocate by saying thank you. I mean, for creating a space where we could just have this conversation with each other. I just really appreciate it.
I really appreciate it too. It feels like you're a kindred spirit.
Yes, I feel that as well. Thank you for joining us today. Please visit our website, traumainformedny.org, for additional trauma-responsive resources, events, and training opportunities. Subscribe to our podcast to be notified when our next episode is released.